Okay, so we're going to talk about the selection tools in Photoshop. So we have three set of selection tools, starting with the Marquee tools, the Lasso tools, and the Magic Wand tools. We are going to cover the Marquee tools in this video. The Marquee tools shortcut is the letter M. Okay, if I click the letter M, I get the rectangular Marquee tool by default. However, if I hold my mouse and click on the Marquee tool, you will see that there are other tools inside of the Marquee tool. We have the elliptical Marquee tool, the single row Marquee tool, and the single column Marquee tool. Again, when we select our Marquee tool or any tool in Photoshop, I want you to notice that the options bar right here will change to that specific tool. So when we go to the Marquee tool, our options have changed to our Marquee tool. So what is a Marquee Selection tool? A Marquee Selection tool, you can click and drag on your canvas, and you will notice that you have created a selection. If I move my mouse inside of my selection, my cursor will turn into a white arrowhead with a little rectangular icon to the bottom right. When I move out of my selection, it turns into a crosshair. Okay, that is the standard icon for the Marquee Selection tool. If I move inside of my Marquee selection, I can move my selection around. Okay, now I want you to pay attention to this group right here of options. The first one, it's called New Selection. The second one is Add to the Selection. The third one is Subtract from the Selection. And the fourth one is Intersect with the Selection. This will work the same way in the Lasso tools. If I select the Lasso tools, right, you will notice that we have these right here, the Magic Wand, the same thing. Okay, so let's go over these guys. Now, if I select the first icon, as soon as I click, right, I make a selection. Okay, when I click on the outside of my selection and I create a new selection, my first selection gets deselected. Okay, so to add additional selections, I'm going to have to click on the second icon, which is Add to Selection. You can also hold the Shift key down, right? Notice that when I click on the Shift key, it switches to the second icon. I don't have to select it. And my crosshair will gain a little plus sign on the bottom right. So now I can add to my selection. I can add into the selection. The third icon is Subtract from Selection. The shortcut on a Mac is the Alt key. Same thing for a PC. And you will notice that now my crosshair, right, the icon for the Marquee selection has a negative sign on the bottom right. So now when I click and drag, I am going to subtract from my selection. Okay. Last icon, it's the intersect. I'm going to select that icon. When I create one selection, then I create another selection. Where those two selections meet, that's where my intersection will happen. Okay? Now, to get rid of a selection, we're going to go to Select, Deselect. Now, another thing that I want you guys to notice is that if I have a selection and I want to select everything else but that selection, so if I want to select the opposite of my selection, I would go to Select, Inverse. All right, and when I do that, you will notice that if I zoom out, everything on my canvas has been selected except for what was selected before. Again, if I go to Select, Inverse, I will go back down to my original selection. And the last thing that we're going to cover under Select, if I go to Select All, it will select the entire image. Again, to deselect is Select, Deselect. And The next thing that we're going to cover about our selections is that when I make a selection, right, I'm going to hit Q for quick mask. We have a video that explains what quick mask does, right? So if I hit Q for quick mask, you will notice that my selection turns into a color. This is for me to visualize my selection and to explain to you guys what happens when we create a selection. Okay, if I want to select a circle, okay, I would go Shift M and go to the elliptical selection tool, where I can hold my mouse on top of the icon and select the elliptical marquee tool, right? I'm going to click once on the canvas to deselect, or I can go to select, deselect, and I'm going to make a circle. Okay, to make a one-to-one circle, you're going to hold the Shift key. The same thing that if you want to make a perfect square, you're going to take the rectangular marquee tool and hold the Shift key, and you get a perfect square. Okay, so let me go back to my circle by going Shift M, Apple D to deselect, or Control D on a PC, and I'm going to create an elliptical selection and then immediately hold the Shift key so I can get a perfect circle. And again, hit Q so we can visualize our selection, and you will notice that all my selections are sharp. Okay, if I want to have a feathering, meaning a soft selection, right, I would have to go right here and select feather. So if I type in a feather of 50, what I would have to do is deselect, and now that I have a feather of 50, as soon as I drag, you will notice that we don't see anything different, right? I can move my selection, but it looks like I have a sharp selection. But because I had feather of 50, when I hit Q, this is what my selection will look like. It will have a feather selection. Okay? So selections are used primarily to define an area. Okay? I'm going to paint here, right? So if I use my brush and I paint, okay, because I have this selected, this is where I'm painting. Okay? Or if I want to change my color, I would go to Hue and Saturation, and I can change my background. I can colorize it and do all kinds of things. But because I had this selected, this is the only area that we're going to work with. And this is what the marquee selection does.